Welcome to Eagle Spire Gaming. I'm your host, Crown, and today is May 9th, and we're looking at Grey Penance, episode 18. And we are talking about some knights, specifically the Acastus Porphyrion. I pray to the Emperor I said that right, to the Omnissiah, because I have no clue how that's supposed to be said. There's also the Cerastus Knight and the Questoris Knight. I'm pretty sure I'm getting those right. But there's a wide family of knights, and we're looking at, the next couple of Grey Penance episodes are going to be about knights as I slog through making them all. And I actually finished these guys a couple of weeks ago. And I've already been working on Lancers. I'm getting along with them. It should be done soon, I hope. And then I just have 6 Questoris to go through, and I thought these two big guys, I thought these were going to be a lot of, I thought these were time consuming, and the Lancers are smaller, and they're proven to be just as worse because there's 4 of them, and I imagine that the Questoris are going to be even smaller, but there's 6 of them, so it's a compounding issue. They are, they're different. They're different. Very different from Legions Imperialis stuff, other Legions Imperialis stuff, because infantry being, infantry, I'm just, at this size, at this little size here, I'm just putting down some contrast paint and, I make it pretty. I make it nice. I make it pretty, but to make these guys pretty, I'm really putting down a lot more work. And if you're new here, and you are not aware of what a Grey Penance is, this is my quest, my vow, oath, a crusade to paint all of the Legions Imperialis models I have, and I like to say before getting more, but there was a release very recently, and I couldn't help myself, and I wanted to do a couple of unboxing videos, and that meant I had to buy the things. I wanted to support my local gaming store, which is an hour away, and I'm not really sure I should be calling it a local store, but I wanted to support them, and I wanted new toys, and I'm so ashamed of myself. I have grown. It's grown. It's gotten bigger, and that's not even all of it, because I still have to get the Mechanicum stuff in, so I can do that. And so I have to finish this stuff before I can move on to more stuff. The accountability is, I don't know how to keep myself accountable for what I'm doing. I need to flog myself. I need to go run. I'd say that I should shave off all my hair as punishment, but I already did. So we're just going to hide that under the hat. And was that my punishment? I did it before. No, I did do that after I bought the stuff, so that could be my punishment. We'll go with that. Anyway, let's talk about the models. So here in this video, I like to talk about how I built them, how I painted them, how all that, the hobby inside of things go, how I plan to use them, and a little bit of a review of the model. And in this one, we're going to kind of review knights as a whole, because they're in a bad shape. And while we're doing this video, I want you all to think about what fixes, I have a challenge for you. What fixes would you make, or what do you think GW might do to fix knights? And we know that they could fix stuff. We know that they have the potential to do that, because they did fix some Mechanicum units. They did a slight nerf to a couple, and quite a big buff to a few more. I remembered on Secutors. In that FAQ, they did make some changes. So they could make changes to the knights to make them more playable. I want to hear what your thoughts are, because in another video, in the next one, we might talk about those and see how some of those would go. Maybe I'll review those, or we'll talk about which ones I will implement. I have some ideas of my own. And if it's points, it's points, but probably not points so much. But let's talk about these guys. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe so that YouTube knows to show this video to more people, and maybe we can make enough noise that GW fixes this issue. But let's talk about these guys. So building them and getting ready to paint them, I built them in a sub-assembly, right? And that means I didn't put everything together. And there's a few sub-assemblies that I did. For one thing, I gave both of mine the missile pod, right? The missile pod at the top. And I still haven't actually glued that on there. That's actually still loose, and I could lift it up and down and stuff. There's no magnets, it's just friction. It's held on there pretty good, and it actually, I couldn't quite push it in exactly where I wanted it to. The paint that I put on it kind of locked it in there. So I haven't glued it just because I don't know exactly how far up I want it to be sitting, and it's not quite even. So instead of making it permanently not quite how I wanted it, I figured I'd just leave it loosely where I want it. And I'll never be wrong. Yeah. I kept both of these arms off. Both of the... I call them an arm, but it's a gun. It's just a gun attached to what is a shoulder of a robot. Interesting how we personify things. Because there's no arm bit to it. It's just a gun. Yeah, so I kept both of those off, and I kept the top of the shoulder there. That panel, I did put that on, but this panel here, which all these cables and stuff, this is all one piece there, and or I guess it's two pieces, but I can't remember. It's been 2 weeks since I did it. I did keep that off of the gun so I could get all the stuff under it, because if you didn't, there's all those gaps in there. If you didn't have that attached, you would see the primer and plastic under there from just the right angle where your brush couldn't get. Or you'd have to force your brush in there and to really get everything, and that would look nasty. So I kept that off. On the back here, we've got two panels there. Yeah, we got two panels there. I had those off while I did it, while I made this piece. I actually had this top body piece, right? This guy completely off, and I attached it after the fact, and I had the legs were all done and everything, but I didn't have these panels on the legs. There's 4 panels on each leg, yeah? And I had all of them off. I probably could have done it with, I probably could have, and I looked at it and I decided against it, but I probably could have had a panel here and the inner and outer panels, and just left the back and front panel off, and I probably could have painted it that way, and that would have been just fine. But I decided against that. It ended up being a little tricky trying to get the guy in the thing in there after the fact, because you got this banner down here, and but I think it came out really good. And then I did have this panel on, and I kind of just painted around everything, and it didn't seem to be an issue for keeping that off. But yeah, so that was the subassembly. Oh, and I had the, I don't think those are actually a separate piece now that I think about it. I had these leg pieces on, but yeah, and the cod piece was also a part of it, so not a subassembly for that. So yeah, that's how I did it. And then obviously for pretty much everything I do, the base is off. I don't put the base on until the model is finished. I'll completely paint the model, and then I'll assemble the entire thing, and then I'll get to the base. That's just a thing that I've been doing for a while. And these guys there's an issue with when you're building something like this, where it's hard to tell exactly where the X and Y and X and Z axis or whatever, when you're putting the body to the torso, where you don't want it leaning too far forward or too far back. Left and right's kind of easy to tell. You can eyeball that easier, but with the body where there's not a head at the top, the head is at the front of the thing, like how far forward and backwards does this thing lean? And it was really bad with the Reaver, but also there's a problem where the legs being attached to the waist separately, and then the feet being attached to the ankles separately, creates this issue where for my Reaver, I didn't get the alignment right, and his feet don't go onto the base properly. So you got to be careful with that if you are doing it the way I just did it. Just keep that in mind. Try not to put things off a line. Pay attention to what you're doing there. I'm hopeful that I didn't mess this up for my Lancers. I did mess it up for my Stalkers horribly, and you can see that in the video for those guys. But I'm hoping the Questoris are also going to... I haven't built those yet. I have been thinking about the weapon combinations for them, though. And I'll probably be building those pretty soon. Maybe this weekend. So that's the modeling side of things done. You know, it came together great, and I saw somebody else had said that they added a little splash of this red and black to the guys, and I think if I continue that pattern throughout all of these, this is House Malinax, something like that, and if I continue that kind of concept throughout the entire thing, that I will, I think it'll come out looking really good. And we'll see here at the end of that how those all look. I'll need to see if I can find some transfer sheets. But let's talk about Knights and their issue. Knights have a big issue right now in that they're essentially, it boils down to they're overcosted. And there's reasons why they're overcosted and what makes them not costed efficiently. But at its core, GW has an issue with, and maybe other companies do this too, the machine is worth more than the sum of its parts, right? And if you look at, say, a vehicle, let's say you take a vehicle with a 2-up armor save and it has a demolisher cannon on it, right? And it is, you know, you were able to destroy a building up to 12 inches away. That's good, but you add a las cannon to it, and now it can do even more damage against tanks, or you put heavy bolters on it, and now it can do, while it's destroying that building, it can also apply some point defense to something else. That increases its cost, right? Makes it cost more. With these guys, though, with Knights, you end up, you're looking at a 2-up save, sometimes a 3-up save. You're looking at a high survivability, you know, a good save, an invulnerable save in a sort, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Strong weaponry, high damage weapons, 3 wounds. That's all good stats, right? So it needs to be worth something. It can't just be worth a little bit more than a Baneblade, right? It's got to be worth a lot more than a Baneblade because you're combining all these things together. And that's not exactly true because they made it cost more than 2 Baneblades, and it's not more durable than 2 Baneblades, and they made it cost more than 6 Lehman Russes, and it doesn't have the firepower of 6 Lehman Russes. What it does have is it's very concentrated, and you can have it by itself, you know, any of them, but the figures, the numbers that I use are specific to the Porphyrion, but you can have one guy that takes up only this space, and, you know, if you position him just right, he'll only be able to see and be seen by one thing, and that gives him some durability there. But you're really having to thread a needle with that. You really have to end up having to play very precise, and you're really changing the game when you do that kind of level of precision where you are specifically going to only one spot, and that might not always exist. So they made it cost too much in trying to do that, and it's just, that's terrible that they did it that way, because it's good at anything, right? Can it take a hit? It can take a hit. It can't take a lot of hits, but it can take more hits than a Lemon Russ. It can take more hits than a Baneblade. Can it dish out firepower? Yeah, it can dish out a bit of firepower, but not as much as they're asking it to. Can it do some close combat? Absolutely. Not so much against an Ogre that's got Furious Charge and Rend, though, and it costs way more than all of those things. So that's really where it comes down, where its issue is. If you were gonna try to leverage it and get the most out of it, focus on one thing. Not, you're never gonna get to use this thing's calf. That's purely a defensive mechanism for it, because for the Acastus, the Lancer and the Questoris, we'll talk about those in another episode, another video. But you know, those have more more close combat capabilities. But with this guy, you're really only trying to use his firepower, and where he will outperform that unit of 6 Lehman Russes that only cost 10 points more than him is if he takes 2 wounds and they take 2 wounds, if your choice is that somebody's going to do 2 wounds to you, he's better at taking those 2 wounds. The wounds, not the saves, because they both save the exact same, pretty much, in most scenarios. he takes 2 wounds better than the Layman Russes do, because once a unit of 6 Layman Russes takes 2 wounds, it doesn't have as much firepower as him, whereas he still does. Yeah, it's kind of the same issue that all Titans have. The Titans just, and it varies at different point levels, but they cost too much for what they do. They just aren't that much more survivable, and they're not that much more damaging, and they're not that much more better in close combat, which being good at close combat and at shooting is almost a punishment, because you're going to be charged for you're going to pay for both abilities, and you're only going to get to use one or the other, which will come up in my potential fixes for Knights, which doesn't fix this guy as much, but I'll still talk about that. And again, that's going to be in the next episode or the episode after that. For Grey Penance. A move of 6, save of 2, calf of 7, morale 2, 3 wounds, blessed auto simulacra, which means if you don't die at the end of the round, if you do take damage but you don't die, very difficult to do, you can heal back those wounds. And then you have a 4-up Ion Shield. We'll talk about that in a bit. Weapon choices, you've got a little bit of options, either between the Ion Storm Missile Pod or a Helios Defense Missiles. And then you can also choose between the Acastus Las Cannon or the Acastus Auto Cannon. I would always take, if you're asking for my opinion, I'd always take the Las Cannon and the Helios Defense Missiles. The reason for the Las Cannon is you're going to be shooting at vehicles. I'd rather have the 6 extra inches on that gun. The autocannon is going to be the only thing that requires you to move closer. Your other 2 guns are going to be firing at 25 inches away. The autocannon is going to require you to get 9 inches closer. The las cannon only requires you to get 3 inches closer. And, that's a pretty good distance when you are thinking that you don't want to get charged. You also kind of want to be on first fire with this guy, so when possible. So the extra range helps to prevent people from staying out of range. As for the defense missiles, Helios defense missiles, because you can't split fire with this thing. So the both of those light AT weapons, you don't want them, because you're not trying to do AP1 shots against infantry. You're trying to shoot tanks. If you're shooting infantry, that means you ran out of tanks to shoot. That's always nice, but you want to be destroying tanks. You want to be destroying something that's expensive with this. And you don't have point defense, so if you're shooting these things, if you're shooting any weapons at infantry, you're shooting all your weapons at infantry. And the twin mag las cannons just don't want to be doing that. That's what you're really paying for, right? Helios defense missiles having skyfire means that you can split fire and put a couple of shots into aircraft. Also, if you're playing a knight list or a knight heavy list, knights don't have a lot of options for skyfire. They don't have a lot of ability to take out aircraft other than number of shots, but you have very low model count anyway. So let's take as much of those missiles as we can, right? Plus, they're still good against ground targets, still good against tanks. AP -2 is a pretty nice profile for shooting at tanks. When you so that's the profiles for them. When you start looking at using these guys against comparing them to your other vehicles, I compared it to the Vanquisher, Layman Russ Vanquisher cannon variant, which, like I said earlier, it's only 10 points more for 6 of them. And just across the board at any target that you're looking at, it does more damage. Let's talk about that Ion Shield. The way an Ion Shield works is when you're hit by a weapon with AP -1, the Ion Shield is whatever the save value is for the Ion Shield. If it's 4-up, it's 4-up. If it's 3-up, it's 3-up. Lancers have a 3-up. If it's AP2 or 3, you subtract 1 from the Ion Shield. And if it is AP4 or more, you subtract 2, and that's where it stays. So if you had a 3-up save and a 4-up invulnerable save, or a 4-up Ion Shield save, then getting hit by AP -1 takes you from that 3 to a 4. Your Ion Shield is just as good. Still helpful in that things like Armor Bane works against your regular save, not against your Ion Shield save. So you don't have to re-roll if you succeed. If you're hit by an AP2 weapon, then your 3-up save becomes an AP, becomes a 5-up save, and your 4-up Ion Shield save becomes a 5-up save. Doesn't do anything for you. If you're hit with a 3, you would go to a 6, or you would stay at that 5 for the Ion Shield. So a 3, it starts to matter a little bit. Matters more than just checking to see if you're getting rid of Armor Bane. So as you can see, it's not, an Ion Shield is nice in some scenarios. Where the problem comes into play is the Acastus has a 2-up armor save and a 4-up Ion Shield save. So it doesn't matter that you have an Ion Shield unless you are looking at an AP 4 or higher, or you're getting hit by something with Armor Bane. If you get hit by AP 2 with Armor Bane, a Vanquisher Cannon, then you can use the Ion Shield 5-up save and you don't have to do a reroll. Whereas if you used your regular save, it'd be a 4-up save and you'd have to reroll. If I did the math right, the statistics are a 5-up once is easier than a 4-up twice. Although it really sometimes doesn't feel that way, and when you roll a 4 and you needed a 5, you're going to be really mad and you'll feel like you did the wrong thing. But statistically, the 5-up is better. It's just sometimes it really hurts because you'll roll 2 4s and you needed 1 5, and you needed 2 4s or 1 5, and you get 2 4s. It's terrible. So yeah, the Acastus Ion Shield probably needed to be a 3-up Ion Shield. It's the way they designed Ion Shields. You don't get both saves, right? You choose a save profile to use, and the way they designed Ion Shields was kind of not meant to be a solid buff, a solid save buff. It was meant to be a slight upgrade that changes. That's the way they went with it. It's not. I don't know if that's what they meant to do, but that's the result of having it designed that way. It becomes, instead of just giving them a 5-up save or a 4-up save, which would be better more often, they gave it this weird thing that kind of has a slight degradation to it, which just doesn't really work a lot of the time. Maybe it needs to degrade slower, or it needs to be at a quicker thing. But yeah, so it's not really going to help you very much. Now, there's a couple of formations that you can use the Acastus in. First, we have a Bastion Lance. This has 2 mandatory slots that you can put it into. You can also put 1 as an optional slot in your Bonded Household Lance. Neither of these formations are going to do anything extra for you. It just changes what knights you have accompanying them alongside them, right? Depending on how you are for points, you may not be able to afford the rest of the Bastion Lance or the rest of a Bonded Household Lance. So you may be stuck taking one over the other. Remember, you can put 2 of these guys into a single detachment. I personally, with the numbers that you're able to take, I would personally probably be putting them in detachments of 1, just because they are very points heavy. You're probably going to be very low on detachments, and increasing the size of the detachment, there is no bonus for taking 2. There's no discount for taking 2. Your third formation you can take them in is a Knight Household Retainer cohort. There are 1 to 3 Knight of any flavor slots that you have. You can put anything in there. And depending on what you put for the compulsory detachments in that formation, you'll be able to either give them forward deployment or outflank. That could be very fun to have these guys outflanking. The problem is, if you're doing that, you're going to be, you can't take this as an allied. This is a support formation. So your army will have to be knights with allies, and you can then have this support formation to do that. It depends on whether or not you're taking Vorax or Voltrax for the compulsory slots. You can then switch out what you have for the rest. There's 3 more Vanguard slots that can either be those Vorax or Voltrax. So you've got a lot of options with this one. The other knights that are in this banner would all have what do you call it? The Cortex controller. So, but for whatever reason, the Acastus doesn't get that. And formation also allows for 2 detachments of armigers, which are the only thing I can think of at the moment for the game that doesn't have a plastic kit. They only come in resin. I suppose there's also the Titan weapon upgrades, and I'd love to get some of those in plastic instead of the resin. But the last formation that we're going to be able to take here, that we can take these guys in, is a Knight Household Aegeus cohort. And that one will let you actually have your Acastus Knight with Cortex controller on them. You can have 2 knights of any flavor. You have to have 1 knight of some flavor. No armigers in it, but it will give you things like more, your Arlatax and the Domitir and the Castellan robots, as well as the Thanatars, if those are something that you want to have in your knight army. And all of them can receive their order tokens, Cortex controller, from the knights, and that's kind of cool to have. Now, there are more formations that you can have your knights in that I'm not going to list. There's the Mechanicum and Dark Mechanicum formations have a slot here and there for knights. And here's a knight. You can have a knight or a titan. You can have 2 knights or a titan. Things like that. And, of course, you can always ally in a random knight detachment of any of the knights. And you can actually do that within a knight army. So you can take a Bastion Lance and decide, oh, hey, I don't have any more points. I don't have the points for a bonded household lance for all of the mandatory stuff to then get the optional slot of another Acastus. But I can take I do have 250 points to just ally in another random knight. Bonus points if you paint that knight in a different color, because he's an ally and he's not a part of the household. Overall, as I'm going to rate these guys, I do think they have a bit of an edge over some of the other knights, in that none of their weapons are really geared towards close combat. They do have a 7 calf, which is higher than a lot of things, but not high enough to want to charge them into infantry or anything, right? But being a gun platform with a bunch of guns on them, that is more focused, which I do appreciate. The Questoris Knights are not as focused in that most of them will probably have a bunch of close combat weapons. If you buy a box of them, or if you buy 2 boxes of them, you will have 6 guns for these 6 models, and then you will have 6 close combat weapons on them, no matter how you slice it. If you make a bunch of them you can make 2 of them into the Crusaders that have a gun in each hand. You're just gonna have 2 guys with a sword in each hand. So, or a fist in each hand, or a fist and a sword, some combination of that, right? So I like them more than the Questoris for that logic. And then the Lancer is
Lancer being cheaper and focusing a lot more on close combat. You know, and being able to spear a bunch of tanks in a single turn, that might be even better. So I think I'll rate him as high mid tier in regards to knights, right? He's not high. None of these are high tier compared to other things. High tier, higher mid tier for the higher end of the middle class, I guess, for knights. But yeah, that's just where I'm putting him at. If you think I got something wrong here, if you think I did the math a little wrong, let me know in the comments below. Again, I appreciate it. I appreciate all the talk that people have been having. And I look forward to seeing you all next time. It's really all the time we have for today, though. So this has been Eagle Spire Gaming. I've been Crown. Thanks for flying by.